Hello. In this session, I'm going to talk about how much fabric you need to get, and accessories and fabric you need to get in order to make your morning coat. So straight away, we're going to start from your wool, top fabric. You will need it medium weight, Melton, obviously appropriate color to your period. So which is, usually is black, dark blue, brown, dark gray. So those type of colors is traditionally been used in 19th century. So you will need it around between 4.5 and 4.5 meters of your top fabric. The reason is all depends on, sometimes you get less, sometimes you get more. That depends of the width of the fabric and the size and the height of your model. So obviously the bigger size you go, the more fabric you will need. The taller person, the more fabric you will need. And also if you the width of the fabric it's quite narrow, then of course you needed more fabric. So that is depends of the width and sizes and height of your model. But I advise you 4.5 meters. The reason is sometimes if you don't have a lot of experience, sometimes it's good to have extra fabric for certain things. I always buy extra for myself, even with my experience. I just, sometimes you don't know how the fabric will behave. So you wanted to have experiment. You experiment on your fabric, you experiment on certain finishing and techniques, because so many techniques you can use and it's nice to experiment. So that things I always get at least extra half a meter. Also, if you are not very experienced, if you make a mistake, you've got that extra fabric to recut or, remake certain parts of your garment. So it's very important that, you give yourself that allowance, okay? So yeah, so it's between 4 and 4.5 meters you need it of your top fabric. The next part would be your lining. So lining is very important. And for the lining, I usually go slightly less, and I will go between 3.5 to 4 meters. So again, it depends how the fabric is behaved, how your lining is behaved, depends on the width of the lining. Sometimes the lining is actually narrower in the width than the wool, so therefore you needed more fabric. And of course, it depends of the size of your person. So it's all to do with all these different things. So I can't exactly tell you how much, but that 4 meters will pretty much cover the average person. Now, the next would be your color canvas. So now the color canvas goes obviously with different colors. If you got a chance to go white, but again, check the quality. Usually tailors will go just that organic look, organic color, and you will need it between it's only for one color, you need it between 30 to 50 centimeters, and that's again depends on the width of the fabric. This one which I have, the width of the fabric is extremely narrow, so it's a less than 50 centimeters, less than half a meter. And therefore it's, I may want to have extra, will buy extra. The reason that you need it so much for only one color is because your color have to be cut on bias, and therefore it have to be able to fit in on bias on your fabric. So yeah, between 30 and 50 centimeters, that depends of the size of your color as well, and the length and of your actual width of your fabric. So that is between 30 and 50 centimeters. The next would be is your canvases. So the canvases comes with different weights, and so I've got the at the moment what I have in my house. I'm going to show you. I've got lightweight, which is absolutely appropriate, and that's what I'm going to use for my morning coat. So lightweight, heavyweight, and I've got this one that's amazing, which is goes into the chest area. That one. It's a little bit expensive and it's very narrow. So that's those as they are hair canvas, which just include the horse hair. I would advise you to get lightweight because of the Melton we use. I will advise you to get a lightweight canvas, lightweight to medium weight, depends what's available. And again, it's between 1.5 and 2 meters of the canvas you will need it. That's again depends of the width of your canvas. The actual canvas itself, it's about 80 centimeters, so it's quite narrow in comparison. And again, it depends on the size of your model. So it's have to cover all your front of your morning coat, and sometimes people would include into the skirt area as well, into the bottom area. So again, that it depends where do you want to use your canvas and how much you want to cover, and how big is your model. So between 1.5 to 2 meters, the canvas you will need. Now, the other canvas, which is hair canvas for the chest, so chest canvas, it's between these two. So this one is heavy canvas, and this one is, again, it's quite springy. Is another type of canvas. Either way, it'd be fine. So this is more expensive. And sometimes it's difficult to get, very narrow in comparison. So that's why if you get this one, you probably want more. When this one is, again, it's a heavy one, and it's appropriate for that as well, between 0.5 meter to 1 meter. And again, it goes in that area, which is chest area, just just below the chest line. So that you need to make sure you've got enough in that area. So you don't need it too much, but you still need it to have enough of that fabric. So yeah, between 50 centimeters to 1 meter of the fabric. The next one would be your breast felt or chest felt. I have here the 3 type of felts. So one is wool, one is bamboo wadding, and then I've got cotton wadding. So just all of those fabrics is appropriate for the chest area, and any of them can be used. All lovely to use as well. So whatever is available at that time, you can use. So if it's the waddings is much more softer, the woolen one felt it's slightly more stiffer, more I think it's less flimsier, I probably will say. They all come with different fabric, different widths of the fabric. So for example, the wool one comes much narrower in comparison with those with the bamboo wadding and the cotton wadding. So you may want to have extra on that. But to be honest, either way, 50 centimeters, which is 0.5 meter, is absolutely plenty. You can go even less than that, about like 30 centimeters would be fine as well. So again, if you've got extra fabric, it will not going to be waste, because you can make your shoulder pads from that, and that it's really nice nice shoulders. You can make it from that, and then you can use other those fabrics elsewhere in your making. So yeah, very, very good. I also use those fabrics to cover some stuff, like cover the boxes, and it helps me with my ironing as well, so create certain things and cover in them, because a natural fabric, they don't burn as much, and they can resist the heat as well. So yeah, they're absolutely good to get. So 0.5 meter, my advice would be on them. So the next fabric I will advise you to buy is linen, which is lovely fabrics, tailored linen. I traditionally been used in 19th, 16th, 17th, 18th century. Linen is, especially in England, been used as a back-end fabric as well. So it's very popular in tailoring. If you had chance to, so mine was grey, but if you had a chance to get white, get white. White is the best, because at least if it's anything lighter you're using a whiter fabric, you're not going to show through. So yeah, So it's much safer to get white, but grey is fine because we've got dark fabric anyway. We're not going to show that. I will advise you to get between 1.5 to 2 meters of this fabric. Again, it's quite narrow, so it's not wide, and therefore you will need it pretty much that amount. Okay, again, if you are using a lot, if you do lots of making, you will use linen all the time. So that's linen. The next would be it's cotton woven fusible or stay flex. Different people call different in the books is differently said differently, different terminology. It comes with different weight as well, but lightweight, medium weight. So you can have medium weight or lightweight, either way is fine for what we're going to use it for. And you need it, you don't need it a lot, you only need it about 15 centimeters. So, so it's fusible, and you can tell it's got, you know, it's a cotton base, and it's got a little glues on the other side, that side. So that's quite a good fabric to use. I don't use a lot in tailoring very much, but for what we're going to use, it will be absolutely perfect. The next would be Cilicia. Cilicia is for different colors, and Cilicia is pure cotton, and you need it about 25 centimeters. Any of those colors, because you're not going to see it anyway, so whatever color you can go, even bleach calico, it's fine as well to use it. But I've got black or brown, it's okay. So yes, it's just nice, very well treated cotton, and usually comes with quite narrow width, so 25 centimeters would be perfect. The next would be is ice wool. Ice wool is made of wool, quite stretchy and quite puffy as well, really nice. And you will need it only 25 centimeters of the ice wool. It's only to support your sleeve. So it will go to your head of the sleeve, and that would be absolutely plenty for that. Okay, so next one I will advise you to get is I will advise you to get your tack and thread. So tack and thread, it's just turn around for you. The tack and thread I use, and I will buy about 2 bobbins at least for a garment, and you always can use. It's Indian cotton thread, pure cotton, made in India, and it's not very strong, so you can't really use it for any sewing because it's quite weak, and you only use it to tuck your seams and to tuck your canvases together, to put things, which is only temporary tucking, so temporary thread, temporary sewing together, and it's very popular by tailors. Got another type of tuck and thread, but this one is my favorite, and made Germany, Gutermann. So it's 100% cotton, and it's called tucking. So tucking thread, so it's easy to use it. Yeah, Indian cotton, cotton thread. Yeah, absolutely perfect for tucking. Love it, absolutely love it. So yeah, if you get chance to get to bobbins. The next would be is your sewing thread. So your sewing thread is obviously need to be as close as possible to your top fabric. So, and I will recommend, depends obviously how many you can get, some of them smaller, someone's bigger on the roll, but I always get to pick like this, and I always will get between 2 to 3 rolls. So again, depends how big they are and how many yards on the actual threads on the bobbin. I get, you know, more than one. Get, you know, it's the reason is when you actually goes, and it always goes in like in the last minute where you actually have like few things to make, and that's it, and it's never enough. Just one roll is never enough. So yeah, definitely will advise you to get minimum 2. I will go for bigger one, minimum 2. I will advise you to go for 100% polyester, not cotton. The reason is when you start ironing and using the steam and wet cloth and the heat, the cotton start to shrink and start shrinking in your seams in certain places, and suddenly your seams will be start pulling, not sitting right, and and every time you iron, and this just get worse and worse. So that's why cotton itself, cotton thread itself is it just gets that type of things where they shrink. So I will advise you to go pure polyester, 100% polyester. I also will advise you, if your lining is different color to your actual coat, for example, your coat is navy, your lining is black or white, because sometimes it's quite appropriate to use in the military white lining. I will go for obviously white, color. So you need to match the sewing thread to your lining as well. So get to your bobbins, bobbins as well. So that helps you obviously to match and be more precise. So yeah, I will advise you to go and match your lining as well. So that's the next part would be is your tailor's shoulder part. So the tailor's shoulder part, the reason I'm saying is tailor's shoulder parts, you need it, make sure you have a one pair of the shoulder parts, which is, I'm talking about as a tailoring, so there is especially made, they're already pre-made, you can make yourself, you make your own one, especially from those felts and waddings you're going to get if you got extra. Plenty would be to make pair of shoulder pads, but I'm advising you, if you had a chance, go for the tailor's shoulder pads. They already have a right shape, they're already pre-shaped, curved, and I used appropriate fabric to, if it needs to be, also pre-shrink and to help you to support the sleeve. Do not use any other shoulders. So this type of shoulders, the only you will need to have. So if you don't have any other, better make it your own one than actually use any other fashionable, shoulder parts. So use tailored shoulder parts. And they come, usually they will come slightly thicker. And so therefore, I already took some extra stuff out from them to make it nice and thin. And yeah, so, and you can cut them to the right shape, you can trim them, so they come quite big as this one, so you can trim them. You make sure you have a pair of them because each side will have a different size, so you've got left and the right side of your shoulder, so make sure it comes as a pair, get as a pair, so you have to be two of those ones. Okay, so it's very important that you got that. The next part is you will go is your buttons. So buttons are very important. So you, the buttons very important, and got different sizes on in your money code. I usually buy my buttons later on. I have a time to think about what type of buttons I want, what type of look I want in my coat. And I usually go with more traditional look. So although I will cover my buttons like this. So see those buttons already being covered in wool. You see that size. So I do it myself. Usually you can send it to the shop and they can cover it for you. They can do a lovely job, absolutely. I've done it myself, and using the same wool, same melton, I actually make my morning coat from to cover that. Or you can cover your buttons with the embroidery for it. So you can't see that it's in black. So here I'm going to show you, I've done as embroidery thread, really pretty and very appropriate. So I've done as a different color so you can see better. but again, it's really nice. Very, very period if you cover it in the thread. Especially they also use like a basket thread where they wave the embroidered or silk thread in the basket manner, so it looks like a little basket, beautiful. Which is, you know, you can it's one of my videos about, you know, where to get information about that type of thing. So if you wanted to cover your buttons, you can get that type of thing. You can buy them straight away. There's the two little settings there where you can buy those parts, and you can cover yourself. I will advise you go for a metal if you can, not plastic. Plastic is white and it shows on the other side. It also doesn't hold the fabric, especially that type of heavy fabric. Doesn't hold as much as Melton. So Melton would be definitely my advice to go for if you have a chance. Now, size of your buttons. So we have three, you know, we've got three big, if I just get a tape measure, hold on a minute, just get tape measure. We have three at the front and two at the back of those bigger buttons, which is 2 across, 2 centimeters. So you will need it, so 3 and 2 at the back, so 5 altogether. You will need the buttons 5. So if you are got for cover buttons, you will need to get all this 5 at least. I always go extra. I will get for you know, another 3, because one, I would like to practice. Second, always something goes wrong, the fabric doesn't sit properly, get broken, and then you will have 1 spare if you lose 1. So I always go 3 extra at least. So you will have, so my advice will be go 5 plus, so 5 buttons of this plus 3, so 8 buttons altogether, 2 centimeters. And then you go a smaller one. The smaller one will be used in the sleeve, and you will have in the morning coat, we have 3 to 2 buttons. So we're going to use 3 buttons in each sleeve. There's 6 altogether. So, and the size of this button is 1.5 centimeters. I will also go extra buttons for that as well. So I will put 2 extra buttons for each sleeve. So that will give me another 4 extra buttons. Altogether, I will go, so you've got 6 altogether. So altogether plus 4 extra, 10 buttons. So I will go 10 of those little you know, buttons if I needed to. They're in a smaller size. So that's quite important. That will be my advice. If you are decided to go for embroidery one, you need to watch another video of mine where I can guide you, where you can get all the information, how to cover them, how to make those beautiful buttons for me. So that's I used, you know, those buttons I did myself, and I used the in silk thread and covered and used the those buttons are beautiful, absolutely beautiful. Those little things like buttons really can let you down if they're wrong buttons, or really make to look so authentic and, you know, so right, so accurate to the period. So the buttons are extremely important. So give attention to your buttons, think about them, and then get them. So there we go. So I hope it helps you, and let's get started. Bye.